Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dr. Samuel Maths. I'm Dr. Samuel. And today we move on from decimals to ratio and proportion. So first, we have to understand what a ratio is. Basically, you are comparing two quantities. A ratio compares two quantities. So for example, if I am twice as old as my brother, that's a ratio. The ratio of my brother's age to my age is 1 to 2. A proportion, on the other hand, equates two ratios. It makes one ratio equal to another ratio. And to understand that, we have to really look into problems involving proportions. So let's first look at examples using ratios. So as we said, a ratio compares two quantities. So for example, if you have a class of students and the class has 12 boys and 8 girls, what is the ratio of boys to girls? You can write the ratio like this. The ratio is 12 to 8. So the two dots in the middle, you pronounce that as 2. You name that as 2. So 12 to 8. But then ratios like fractions should be brought to the lowest terms by dividing by the highest common factor. The highest common factor of 12 and 8 is 4. 4 is the highest number that can go into both 12 and 8. And 4 can go into 12 3 times, and 4 can go into 8 2 times. So the ratio is 3 to 2. Now you can write that as a fraction to make you understand it better. The fraction of boys to girls would be the same as the ratio, but written as a fraction, 3 over 2. And you can bring the 3 over 2 to a mixed number. 2 into 3 is 1, remain the 1 over 2, 1.5. It means the number of boys is 1.5 times the number of girls. So that's ratios. So in this same example, 12 boys and 8 girls in a class, the ratio of girls to boys now would be the reverse. You have 8 girls and 12 boys. So the ratio is 8 to 12. Written as a fraction, that is 8 over 12. And bring it to its lowest terms, the ratio would be 2 to 3 because 4 into 8 is 2, 4 into 12 is 3, as I said before. So the ratio of girls to boys is 2 to 3. And as a fraction, it will be 2/3. You have 2/3 the number of girls as boys in the class. So now we go on to an example on proportion. Remember we said that proportion equates two ratios. One ratio is equal to another ratio. So in this problem, we have the ratio of students to teachers in a school is 25 to 2. As we saw before, that means that the fraction of students to teachers is 25 over 2. And the fraction of teachers to students is 2 over 25. So that's the first ratio. If there are 22 teachers, how many students are in the school? And so this is where the second ratio comes in. Let me show it to you. The ratio of students to teachers is 25 to 2. There are 22 teachers in the school. It means that that first ratio equals the second ratio, which is the number of students. Let's let that be x. So if x is the number of students, 22 as the number of teachers. So that is the second ratio. And so what we have to do is find x, the number of students. So let me write x equals the number of students. So how do we find x? Now, there are a number of ways you could do this, but this is how I like to do it. Remember we said that fraction, the ratio can be written as a fraction. And a fraction, remember originally when you look at fractions, we said that a fraction can be looked at a number of parts taken, equal parts, taken from a whole, which has a number of equal parts itself. And so therefore, writing the 25 to 2 as a fraction, with the 2 representing the teachers, we can write the 2 as 2 parts. Or 2 shares. And 2 parts equal 22. So if 2 parts equal 22, 1 part will be equal to 22 divided by 2, which is 11. And since the student is 25 parts, therefore the number of students would be equal to 25 times 11, and we'll get that answer as 275 students. That is one way you could do this problem. The other way you could do it is to use the fractions. Remember, the fraction of students to teachers is 25 over 2. So if we multiply the fraction 25 over 2 times the number of teachers, we are going to get the same answer, 275 students. So you could do it any way you want to. The same answer, either way. We'll go on to another example. Look at this example, where you have a sum of money, $560, shared in the ratio 2 to 3 to 9. So you have 3 parts to the ratio. So basically you are sharing that 560 into 3 parts or 3 shares. The first share is 2 parts, the second share is 3 parts, and the third share is 9 parts. And you have to find first the largest share, which is 9 parts. In order to find this, we find first the total number of shares, the whole of the fraction. 9 plus 3 is 12, plus 12 plus 2 is 14. So the whole is 14 shares of 14 parts. So 14 parts equals 560. And so we can find what one part is by dividing 560 by 14. When we do that, we are going to get 40. So if one part is 40 and the largest share is 9 parts, the largest share will be 9 times 1 part 40. When you multiply that, we'll get the answer as 360. Well, the unit is dollars. The largest share is $360. That's it. If you want the smallest share, it would be 2 times 40, $80. And the middle share would be 3 times 40, $120. Again, you could have just done it straight using fractions. The largest share is 9 parts over the total number of shares, which is 14, times 560. And you would get the same answer, $360. Part B, what is the difference between the largest share and the smallest share? The largest share is 9 parts. The smallest share is 2 parts. So the difference is 7 parts, 9 minus 2. And therefore, the difference would be 7 times what 1 part is, which is 40. And that is $280. Okay, that's it. That is proportion. Let us do one more example to make sure you get it. A man shares a sum of money between his 3 sons, Andy, Bob, and Carl, in the ratio 2 to 3 to 5, respectively. So that means Andy receives 2 parts, Bob receives 3 parts of the money, and Carl receives 5 parts. If Bob receives $75, we have to find what was Carl's share. Remember, Bob is the middle part. Bob receives 3 parts. So it means 3 parts equal $75. And therefore, 1 part would be 75 divided by 3, which is $25. So if 1 part is $25, and you have to find Carl's share, Carl receives 5 shares. So therefore, Carl's share equals 5 times 25, which is $125. Let's go to part B. What was the total amount shared? For that, let's find the total number of parts. The total number of parts is 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 2, 10. 10 parts. So we have to find what is 10 parts. We know one part is $25. So therefore the total share will equal the total number of parts, which is 10, times what one part is, which is $25, and the answer is $250. And that is how you work ratios and proportions. So that's it for today. In the next video, we'll move now onto a different section of the math syllabus, which is consumer arithmetic. I'll tell you more about it next time. If you like this video, then you can subscribe to my channel. You can like or share the video. See you next time.